My fiancé hugged her old boyfriend just before our wedding. She told him she was marrying me for my money, not for love. So I stopped the wedding. The big mess that happened after broke down the things she had built. I am a 34-year-old man. I have my own small woodwork business. I live in a country town in Montana where there are more cows than people. My business is not fancy. It's just me, two other men who work for me, and my cousin who helps with the money work. I started helping my dad fix barns when I was 16. Then I learned from an old man named Earl. He taught me all about real woodwork, not the cheap IKEA stuff, but good work with nice wood. Over time, I got more customers and a good name. I started my own business about 6 years ago. I grew up in this town and never moved away. I tried going to a small college for a short time, but I stopped. I found I was happier working with my hands than sitting in class. My family has lived here for many years. Most of them were farmers or workers. They believe in good work for good pay. We were never rich or poor. We had enough money for what we needed. Sometimes we bought something nice as a treat. I met the woman I was going to marry at the local hardware store. She worked in the design part of the store. She had moved to our town about 3 years ago from Chicago. She said she wanted a calmer life after the big city made her tired. She helped me choose some nice wood pieces for a rich man's house I was fixing. We started talking. She was much better looking than me, to be honest. I still don't know why she liked me at first. Maybe she thought it was new and fun to date a real man from Montana. From the first day, she surprised me with how sure of herself she was. She seemed to have her whole life planned out. I was just trying to remember if I had cleaned the wood dust out of my ears. I was not very fancy or smooth. I never have been. But she never made me feel like I had to be. She did not care that I worked with my hands or that my best clothes were just ones without flannel. She saw the real me. She listened like she truly cared. She laughed like she meant it. Being with her felt easy and true. For a man like me, that is not something you find often. Our relationship moved along in a normal way. I would take her fishing to my favorite places. She did not like putting bait on her own hook, but she loved catching fish. She would take me to town events where she knew everyone, even though she was new to town. I would help her put up shelves in her small apartment. She would bring me coffee at my work on cold mornings. These were normal things couples do. She was always making plans. Her next job step, trips we should take, the kind of house we should save money for. I was more of a let's see what happens kind of guy. But I liked that she had plans. I thought we were a good balance for each other. After 2 years, I asked her to marry me while we were hiking. It was not fancy. I just had a blue ring and my knee was shaking. She cried and said yes before I could even finish asking. We set the wedding date for June 18th. Suddenly, I was deep in wedding plans, things I never thought I would care about. I build cabinets and put down wood floors for work. I do not pick flowers or argue about the color of tablecloths. But she was so happy every time she talked about the wedding. So I joined in. If it was important to her, it was important to me. I went to every meeting with the people who would work at our wedding. I asked the questions she forgot to ask. I checked all the papers twice. I carried a notebook like I was a wedding planner. I even started bringing her coffee before meetings. I brought her flowers just because I liked how happy she looked when she saw them. Sunflowers were her favorite kind. We booked a simple lodge by a lake about an hour from town. It was not a fancy place, but it was nice. It had big wood beams, a porch that went all around it, and a dock over the lake where we would say our vows at sunset. She said it was her dream wedding, and I believed her. The wedding would cost about $20,000. That made my stomach feel sick. But she kept saying, we only get married once. I agreed completely. I wanted her to look back and feel she got everything she wanted. She deserved that. We agreed to split the cost in half. Her parents would pay for some of the food. I started taking any extra work I could find. I worked weekends, late nights, and small jobs on the side. I sanded floors, fixed decks, and built special pieces. Some nights I came home so tired I could barely walk. But I still asked about her day, gave her back rubs, or brought her favorite sweets when she was stressed. I loved to see her happy.
If that meant less sleep and more rough hands, that was okay. I took care of the plans. I handled the place contracts, rented things, and arranged deliveries. I even booked a cabin for our honeymoon in the mountains. Everything was ready. She focused on small things like dresses, flowers, invitations, and ideas online. We had 1 week left until the wedding. Everything was planned. I felt very proud. Life was good. I was ready to give her everything I had. Everything was good until it was not. 7 days before the wedding, I was at work finishing a deck for the mayor's sister. It was very hot outside. I was sweating through my shirt. My phone made a sound. It was a text from Amy. She works at the same hardware store as the woman I was going to marry, but in a different part of the store. We were friendly. She helped me find hard-to-find parts many times, but we were not friends outside of work. Her text said, "Hey, I don't know if I should send this, but I think you should see it." Then she sent a video. It was the woman I was going to marry. She was in the store's break room with a man named Jake. He works in the part of the store that helps builders. I knew him a little. I talked to him a few times when I ordered special things. He was a good-looking man. He always dressed nicely, even though he worked at a hardware store. In the video, they were hugging. It was not a quick hug. It was a long hug, with their bodies pressed together. You could not even slide a paper between them. She was crying a little. Her makeup was smudged. He gave her a small wrapped gift. I heard him say, "I wish things were different." She said something back, but I could not hear it because her face was against his chest. My stomach felt like it fell to my feet. I had to sit down on the deck that was not finished. My legs felt weak, like soft noodles. I texted Amy back, "When was this?" She said, "Yesterday afternoon. Look, I'm not trying to cause trouble, but something seems wrong." I asked why she sent it to me. She said,
"That woman has been mean to me since I got a better job than her. But that is not why I am showing you. My sister's old boyfriend did the same to her. He had feelings for a coworker while they planned their wedding. I do not want to see another good man get hurt." I tried to act calm. I thanked her for telling me. I said I would talk to the woman I was going to marry. But inside, I was very upset. 7 days before our wedding, and she was crying and saying goodbye to another man from work. I could not focus for the rest of the day. I almost hit my thumb with a hammer 2 times. I had to fix part of the railing because I put it in wrong. I kept thinking, maybe it is not what it looks like. Maybe Amy is just being mean because of some problem at work. But it was a video, and it did not look normal. When she came home that night, I just said that Amy from work texted me. I wanted to see how she would react. She asked, what did she want? Her voice sounded mean, like she tasted something bad. I said, she just asked about some wood for her boyfriend's project. She said, you two don't like each other. She is just jealous of everyone. She thinks she knows everything since she got a better job. I nodded. Then I waited a moment and said, so, how was work today? Did anything interesting happen? She said, same old boring stuff. She did not look up from her phone. She was looking at pictures online. Her eyes looked blank, like she was not really seeing anything. I decided to ask a little more. Didn't you say that man Jake was leaving? She stopped moving for just a second. It was a small pause, but I saw it. She said, oh yeah, he is moving to another store in a different city. They had a small goodbye party for him in the break room. I said, that's nice. She said, we were friends, just friends from work. He helped me with some builder accounts. She suddenly stood up from the couch. I'm going to take a shower before dinner, she said. That is when I knew something was wrong. She never showers before dinner. She always showers after dinner because she says she feels dirty from cooking. The next morning, she left earlier than usual. She said something about an early meeting. She kissed my cheek and ran out before I even made coffee. She left her iPad on the desk to charge. We knew each other's passwords. We said we had no secrets, but that was not true. So I looked at it. I just felt I should. It turned out the no secrets rule only worked one way. I did not find any texts between her and Jake. She must have deleted them. But I found many texts between her and her friend Kara. They talked about Jake. Kara asked, what are you going to do about Jake? She said, what can I do? He is leaving and I'm getting married in a week. Kara said, but you said he is the one who really understands you. She said, he does, but he is not dependable. Remember how he left for a month when his old girlfriend came back? The man I am marrying would never do that. He is steady.
Kara said, "So you are marrying a safe, steady man instead of the one you love passionately?" She said, "A woman has to think about her future. The man I am marrying is a good man. He would be a good father and provider." Kara asked, "But do you love him like you love Jake?" She said, "It's a different kind of love, more practical." There was more. She said, "Jake says he wishes he knew what he had before it was too late." Kara said, "So he wants you now that you are taken? That is typical." She said, "I know, but when he looks at me, it feels like he really sees me, not just what I can do for him or how I fit into his plans." Kara said, "And the man you are marrying does not see you that way?" She said, "He loves the idea of me, the pretty woman who will give him cute babies and make his house a home. I'm not sure he knows the real me." Kara said, "The real you who still thinks about Jake?" She said, "I'm trying not to. I really am." My hands shook as I read this. There was more. It went back for months. I found out they met for coffee many times each week. The texts did not say they did anything physical, but it was clear she was not true to me in her heart. I was the safe choice. I was her backup plan. I was the steady man who would provide for her while she wished for someone else. Then I found something even worse from a few weeks before. Kara asked, "Do you think he will ever leave Montana?" She said, "I doubt it. He thinks building decks for people is enough." Kara said, "That's sweet." She said, "Sweet does not pay for houses by the beach." She did not just see me as safe, she saw me as small.
Like I was a quiet worker who was too dumb to know she was using me. Like the life I built with my own hands was just something she was waiting to end. 5 days before the wedding, everything was paid for. My parents had driven from Wyoming and were staying at my house. Her family was coming the next day. What was I supposed to do? I spent the day trying to work, but I almost cut my thumb with a saw because I could not focus. My friend Phil saw something was wrong. He pulled me aside and said, "Dude, what is wrong with you today? You are a mess." I showed him the texts. Phil read them quietly. His face looked more upset with each text. After reading them, he said, "Dude." I said, "But everything is paid for. Everyone is coming. The wedding is in 5 days." He said, "It is better to lose the money you paid than to lose half your things in a divorce in 5 years when she leaves you for Jake or someone else." I said, "But what if I am overreacting? Maybe it is just nerves before the wedding." Phil looked at me like I was crazy. He said, "Read those texts again, man. She told her friend she loves that other man more than you. That is not nerves. That is her settling for you." I knew he was right, but I needed to hear it from her in person. I needed to give her a chance to explain. Maybe there was something I did not understand. 4 days before the wedding, I asked her to meet me at our special place. It was a small dock on the lake where we used to fish when we first started dating. I thought a public place would keep us calm and stop us from making a scene. She seemed confused by the invitation, but she agreed to meet me after work. I got there early. I sat at the end of the dock. I watched fish jump and tried to think of what to say. She arrived 15 minutes late. She looked annoyed. She snapped, "What is so important that it could not wait until after work?" Her shoes hit the dock loudly. She sat down next to me with a sigh. She sat far away from me. She said, "I have a million things to do before Saturday." I did not look at her. I said, "I saw the video. You and Jake in the break room?" She froze for a second, but I saw it. She asked, "What video?" I took out my phone and played it. The whole long hug, the gift, her makeup running, her face looked like she was thinking of a lie. Instead of telling the truth, she looked up and said, "Amy sent you that, didn't she? That girl is crazy about me. She is just mad because I got the job she wanted." I said, "I'm not here to talk about your problems with Amy. Explain what you are doing in that video 4 days before our wedding." She snapped, "It was his last day. Jake and I worked together for years. It was sad. He gave me a goodbye gift. I cried a little. That is all." I asked, "And I wish things were different? Did that come with the gift?" She paused. She said, "You are making this too big." I said, "I read your messages with Kara." That hit her. Her face changed for a second. She asked, "You went through my things?" I said, "You left your iPad on the desk. The same iPad you used to talk about how I am the safe choice, the provider, the man you are marrying because I am steady." She stared at the water like she wanted to jump in and swim away. She said, "It is not what it looks like." I said, "Really? Because it looks like you are marrying me while your heart is with someone else." She said, "I do care about you. You are kind and dependable. You are the kind of men women wish they had." I said, "But I am not Jake." She sighed. She said, "Jake is chaos. You are steady. You are the one who would actually be there. He wouldn't even know how to build a life. You do." I said, "Look, I am not building a life with someone who is always looking back."
Her voice got sharp. She said, "You are really doing this 4 days before the wedding? We paid for everything. Guests are already coming. My dress is at the tailor's. The place, the food, the music, it's all ready. You can't just quit." I turned to face her. I said, "I can when the woman I am marrying says I am her second choice with a toolbox." She made a sound like she didn't believe me. She said, "You think marriages last on love? No, they last on working together, giving in, and choosing someone who will not leave when things get hard. That is what I chose. That is what you are." I shook my head. I said, "You chose a backup, a man who wouldn't ask questions.
You thought I would just smile, agree, and pay the bills while you cried over another man in secret?" She snapped. "That is not fair. I have been stressed, okay? It is a big choice, but I chose you." I said, "You said yes to safety, not love." She said, "Oh my God, Jake, you are being impossible right now." It was quiet. She did not notice at first, but I did. The last thing you expect is for the woman you are going to marry to call you by another man's name before the wedding. My jaw tightened. I asked, "What did you just call me?" Her mouth opened. She said, "Wait, I didn't. I meant..." I said, "No, you didn't." I stood up slowly. I said, "You just said what you really think." She said, "Look, please, we could fix this. I made a mistake. I panicked, but we can still get married and work it out later." I said, "I am not going to be someone's safety net for life." I said, "The wedding is off." She yelled, standing up, "You can't just say that like it's nothing. People are coming. Your family already flew here. What am I supposed to tell everyone?" I said calmly, "Tell them the truth. You called your fiancé Jake 4 days before the wedding. If that does not explain it, I don't know what does." I stood up to leave. She kept talking, saying things like, "Don't be stupid. Everything is paid for. Your parents are here. We can fix this." I walked away. She called my name, but I did not turn around. I sat in my truck for a minute, trying to understand what happened. Then I drove to Phil's house because I did not want to be alone. The next 3 days were a big mess. First, I had to tell my parents the wedding was off. They were staying in my extra room. They drove 500 miles to be here and were excited about the wedding. Telling them felt like I was admitting I did something bad. I said, "Mom, Dad, there's not going to be a wedding." They looked at me, confused. I explained what I found out. My mom cried, not because the wedding was canceled, but because she was sad for me. My dad, who does not talk much, just nodded seriously. He finally said, "It is better to find out now than later." They were confused, but supported me after I explained. Dad said he had never seen me so sure about anything. Mom hugged me for a long time. Then she started making calls to family who were coming to tell them the plans changed. Then I called the lodge and told them what happened. The manager understood, but said they could not give our money back because it was too close to the date. That was fair. I already knew that money was lost. I also canceled our honeymoon cabin. Again, no money back. I lost more savings, but it was still cheaper than a divorce. While I was looking at papers for the honeymoon, I found out she had opened a credit card in both our names without telling me. She had already spent almost $8,000. Most of it was for the wedding, but also a nice computer and a trip for next winter. I knew nothing about that trip. I called the credit card company right away. I told them I never agreed to this. I started a fraud report. Thank God we were not married yet. That made it easier legally. The person on the phone said it might hurt my credit for a while, but that was better than having to pay for her spending. The hardest part was calling her parents. I always liked them. Her dad taught me how to fly fish on a weekend trip. Her mom always sent me home with extra food. She called me hun in a way that made me feel like family. I owed them the truth. Her dad answered the phone. He said, "What's wrong, son? You sound upset." I explained what I found out and what I decided. There was a long silence. I could hear him breathing. He said, "I'm sorry, son. She has always been tricky. She gets it from her mother's side." He sighed. He said, "We will talk to her. Thank you for telling us yourself." I felt better knowing her parents understood, even if they were sad. Meanwhile, my phone kept getting texts from her. She said, "You are making a big mistake. We can fix this. Please do not tell anyone what you saw. Let me explain to them. Jake means nothing. I choose you. Answer your phone. We need to talk. You are throwing everything away over a misunderstanding. My parents are mad at me. Is that what you wanted?" I did not answer any of them. Instead, I packed a bag. I loaded my old van that I use for camping. I told my parents I needed time away. Dad gave me some money.
He told me to find clear thinking in the mountains. Mom packed me enough sandwiches to feed many people. They understood. I am lucky to have them. The day before our wedding was supposed to be, I was setting up camp in Yellowstone. My phone made a sound. It was a text from Phil at home. He said, "Dude, you won't believe this. She is telling everyone you had a family emergency and the wedding is delayed, not canceled. Her parents look sad but are playing along. So weird, man." I told him if she wanted to embarrass herself, let her. That night, my friends sent me videos. They were having a party for me because I was single again. They were burning a fake wedding cake made of cardboard in Phil's backyard. It looked like the 4th of July. They were making silly toasts. They said I avoided a bad situation. They said I saw the warning signs before it was too late. One friend said I made a big comeback at the end. I had not laughed in days, but that made me laugh. It felt good to be the man who did not mess up at the last second. Meanwhile, she kept sending more texts. She said, "I talked to your parents. They think you are rushing. The place called. They need to know how many people are coming tomorrow. Everyone is asking where you are. This is embarrassing. I can't believe you are doing this to me. Did you really cancel our honeymoon? That was half mine. I will be at the lodge tomorrow. Please be there. We can still fix this." I turned my phone off and enjoyed the quiet. The day that was supposed to be our wedding felt strange. I kept my phone off most of the day. I hiked far into the woods where there was no phone signal. Around sunset, when we would have been saying our vows, I found a high spot overlooking a valley. I sat there watching the shadows get longer. I felt strangely calm. Later, when I turned my phone back on at camp, it had many messages, texts, missed calls, and voicemails. I ignored most of them, but I listened to one from Phil. Phil said, "Dude, you missed something. She actually came to the lodge in her wedding dress alone. She told the few guests there that you had a family emergency, but you would reschedule soon. Her parents stood there looking like they were at a funeral, not a wedding. Her dad had to pay for the place. He said sorry to everyone who came. She kept pretending all day. She took pictures by the lake. She smiled fake while talking to people. Jake did not come, of course. I stayed just long enough to see how awkward it was, then I left. Call me when you can." I did not call anyone that night. I just sat by my campfire thinking about everything. Over the next few days, I learned more. Phil heard from his girlfriend. His girlfriend works with my ex's cousin. Remember, it's a small town. Jake had moved to his new job in Billings a week early to avoid the mess. That was smart. About 2 weeks later, her maid of honor, Sophie, contacted me. I always liked Sophie. She had finally heard the whole story from Kara.
She was disgusted. She told me I had no idea what was really happening. She told me you just got scared to get married. But Kara showed me the texts. I can't believe she was lying to both of you like that. Sophie told all their friends what really happened. One by one, people stopped being friends with my ex. Not just because of Jake, but because of how she acted. The lies, the tricks, and not accepting the truth. Meanwhile, she had a big problem at work. She screamed at Amy in front of customers. She said Amy ruined her life. She got suspended from work for a week. When she came back, she found out Jake said she could not contact him at his new store. That made her scream again. This time, she got fired. Her texts got mean. She said, "You ruined my life. You could have just married me and we could have fixed it later. I will tell everyone what a jerk you are. All this over a stupid hug? You are pathetic. You had no right to tell my parents. That was private. I am keeping the ring. Think of it as payment for embarrassing me." I did not answer any of her texts. I sent the mean ones to a lawyer friend. He sent her a paper telling her to stop. That worked fast. The ring made me angry. It was not expensive, but it was my grandmother's ring. I just put a new stone in it, but I decided it was not worth fighting over. Let her keep it as a reminder of what she lost. For a while, I just drove from camp to camp. I took each day as it came. I found small jobs through an app. I helped people with decks, fences, and putting furniture together. I found out you can make good money being the man who shows up and fixes things for rich people who have vacation homes they rarely use. I sold the honeymoon cabin to a couple from Utah. They needed a last-minute trip. I used the money to buy good tools without wires and a new rack for the top of my van. I thought, if I was going to work while traveling, I should do it well. It felt like a nice circle. She picked the cabin to celebrate a life I would have built for her. I used it to build a life for myself. About 3 weeks later, I was parked at a nice view spot. A park ranger came up. I thought he would tell me I could not camp there, but he just wanted to make sure I was okay. He said, "I've seen your van around. Just checking if everything is all right." We started talking. I told him the whole story. He nodded. He said he went through something similar when he was younger.
He said, "It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It made me figure out who I am, not who someone else wanted me to be." That is when I started thinking about what I really wanted, not what I thought I should want. My business at home was fine. My partner kept sending me updates. My house payment was not too high. I had skills that people would pay for anywhere. For the first time as an adult, I felt completely free. And the credit card problem worked out. Because I told the company right away and could prove I did not sign up, I do not have to pay the money. She has to pay the debt. That feels fair after everything. My lawyer friend said she broke the law, but taking her to court would be more trouble than it was worth. I just wanted to move on. I did see her one more time about a month after the wedding that did not happen. She came to the campground where I was staying. She had been looking at my credit card buys to find me. That was very scary. I was at my campsite cooking food that was not from a can. When she walked up, she looked bad. Her face looked thin, and she had dark circles under her eyes. It looked like life was not good for her anymore. I asked, "What do you want?" I did not stand up. She said, "I wanted to see you to explain." She sat down across from me without me asking. She said, "I made a mistake. A big mistake. I miss you." I asked, "Which mistake? Cheating with Jake in your heart, lying about it, opening a credit card in my name without asking, or going to our wedding place in a white dress and pretending everything was fine?" She jumped a little. She said, "All of it." She said, "I was confused and scared to commit, but losing you made me realize what is important." I said, "Let me guess. Jake did not want you after all?" She said nothing. That was my answer. I said, "You should go." I turned back to my food. There is nothing left to talk about. She said, "We were together for 3 years."
"Doesn't that mean anything to you?" I said without looking at her. It meant everything. That is why it hurt so much to find out I was just your second choice. She started crying hard. Her cries echoed off the trees. Then, through her tears, she said one last thing. She sobbed, "You are going to regret this." I shrugged. I said, "I will think about it between doing laundry and caring." It has been about 6 weeks since the day that was supposed to be my wedding. I'm still on my trip to find myself. I'm camping in national parks. I do small woodwork jobs when I need money. I found peace in the simple life of living in my van. I wake up with the sun, hike until I am tired, and fall asleep looking at more stars than you can count. I can honestly say I do not regret leaving. Some things are worth losing to keep your self-respect. Right now, I'm waiting for my ex to try to get back at me. Let's see what she does. I would tell you what happens. Here is an update from the man who canceled his wedding. After 3 months in my van, I came back to town. I expected trouble, but people were happy to see me. Old women in the store patted my back and said I did the right thing. It was weird, but nice. Business is great. It is 70% bigger than last year. A rich tech man asked for me specifically to do his custom project. He asked for the carpenter who canceled his wedding. My cousin jokes we should use my almost marriage to get more customers. What about my ex? She got fired from the hardware store after her big scene. Now she tries to be famous on Instagram. She posts pictures as Montana Glam. It is all hiking boots and jars of tea from the woods. She moved to Billings where Jake works. She went to his store and security had to make her leave. Now she is dating an older man with a fancy car and special license plates. I am glad I got away from her. It turned out she had a whole plan to get back at me, the one she talked about when she was crying. 2 weeks after I came back, my biggest client called. He said someone sent him proof that I used cheap materials and charged too much. The proof were fake photos of other projects. She also wrote fake reviews online. She said I tried to date married clients and left jobs unfinished. The worst thing was she tried to tell my landlord I was selling illegal drugs from my workshop. It backfired. Security cameras caught her putting fake evidence there. It was just oregano in bags. She's not very smart at being bad. Here is something no one expected. I am dating Sophie now. Yes, my ex's former maid of honor. After Sophie found out what really happened, she texted me. She said she was sorry for believing my ex's lies. We met for coffee. That turned into dinner. That turned into me teaching her how to fly fish. One thing led to another, and we have been a couple for 4 months. She says she always thought I was too good for her friend, but she never said anything. My ex got very angry when she found out. She went to Sophie's work and screamed about girl code. That is funny coming from someone who was cheating in her heart the whole time. Her dad gave me my grandmother's ring back. He said he found it in her drawer. We had beers together after. He told me, some people don't change. They just get better at hiding who they are. About the credit card fraud, the company said I did nothing wrong. They took her to court. She got in trouble. She has to do community service. She has to clean up dog poop at the animal shelter where my mom helps out. What goes around comes around. I learned that the life you think you want might not make you happy. My business is doing great. I'm building furniture for myself. I wake up every day happy that I did not accept being someone's second choice. Trust your feelings, man. And when someone thinks you are their backup plan, make sure you are not in their plans at all.